Hey. We are in another week of videos. My name is Warren Howe. Hopefully, having a great day out there. Now, I got a question. Who bought the dip? Right? That's the ultimate question that we should ask. But also, who is, what do you guys do whenever there's a correction, right? Especially if it's a huge correction, what are we supposed to do? Now, I understand that we have adopted the mentality, the mindset to be, buying on dips. But what if the dip keeps dipping? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we go into that, right? I've been mentioning before, in previous videos, during our live streams, I've been mentioning that there should be a healthy correction, right? The S&P 500 has been on a greedy run. Reaches, I think, to a high of 4,550, somewhere there. The S&P 500 has been a greedy run. There's a lot of catalysts to push it forward, right, to propel it further. But what is happening right now? Is the market correcting? Should it correct based on seasonality, based on, September, October weakness? But right now, the big situation is the Evergrande situation. Right, we got the Evergrande China property developer on, in debt, huge debt, not being able to pay, causing a ripple effect throughout, the banks, throughout whoever is going to be affected. U.S. market is feeling that. They're on market sentiment. So you see a correction. Now, we also did mention during our live streams that if we look at, the charts, this is the chart of the S&P 500, it will be healthy if it's correcting by 4%. Right, 5%. And if you notice this from the highs, it is actually within that 4% level. So what is the worst case scenario that, the S&P 500 drops further to 8% or even 10%, which will bring it down back to 4,000? Now, my point of view is that, I want it to drop. I want a healthy correction. Obviously, the fundamental question and the longer-term question is, will the Evergrande, situation hold? And we can recently see that China is pumping in and helping in, with the company. They're helping a little bit on, I think they pumped in like few B on them. My point now is that how is that going to affect our stocks fundamentally, right? So, out of your 10 stocks or 20 stocks, if the S&P 500 is seeing weakness, how is that affecting your stocks? If it's still holding strong, then it's good for you. But if it's actually, experiencing volatility similar to how the S&P 500 is, then what should we do? Now, it all brings back, and everything is interrelated, right? As we mentioned before. What is your buy and sell position, and why did you buy the stock in the first place? Are you holding it for the long term? Are you holding a SPAC? I did manage to reach out to some of you, right? Doing, after the live streams, we have been, sharing DMs. We've been personal messaging. And some of you have been asking, is it a good hold on this company? Is it a good hold on that company? Well, obviously, first is that we need to build a thesis, right, around these companies. We need to know the further long-term aspect and their projections, what are their potential, into detail. If you have, that answered that, it's most likely you won't be asking anyone because your convictions are really high, right? So that's what I want us to talk about, right? That's what I want to talk about. Like we need to be building an analysis and projections based on where this company is going to go in 5 years' time, regardless of market situations, and whether or not your convictions you should be holding or even buying more, acquiring more shares during dips. So have you identified, out of your top 5 companies? Okay, so you can get home with this exercise, right? Out of your 10 stocks or 20 stocks, what are your top 5 highest conviction companies? If you identify these 5, and based on the thesis, based on your analysis, based on your projections, in 5 years' time, you identify where where this company is going to go, how long you're going to hold. Stick to your discipline, right? Be disciplined about that. And the game plan, if you have identified a 10-year period, is to be owning more shares regardless of the CB, cost basis. So I hope you got some value out of this. The point is, if let's say we see a healthy correction in 10%, what are we going to do with, how is it going to affect our portfolios? What are we going to do? And how are you going to replenish your cash? My market, thesis is that I'm going to be just holding cash at the moment, right? It could be 15%, it could be 20%, it depends on your portfolio. But I will be buying heavy on the ones that I've already identified for the long term. You see what I'm getting at? So regardless if it's a spec, okay, spec is just, a little risky, but end of the day, it depends on your conviction on the stock. Qualitative wise, quantitative wise, where's it going to be? And if you've been piling on more on that, you'll be dollar cost averaging. Is it a good move? Because you've already identified, the longer term game, right? You already identified where's it going to be in 10 years' time based on your conviction. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't matter what cost basis you're going to build it as long as you're acquiring more shares along the way, right? So you're having cash inflow either from your 9 to 5, your work, as long as you're replenishing the account with healthy calculated steps, you could be piling on into your long-term stocks. So get that 5 conviction stocks. Ask yourself, what are your valuations? What is happening in the market? Is it a fundamentally, long-term problem? Is it just a temporary setback, short-term wise? Like what happened in May? What happened in, March? If you have answered that, then good for you. Yep. So I hope you got some value out of this today. Hope to see you. Just a reminder, I go live every Friday. Yep. So hope to see you there. Thank you.